Mysteries in History with your host, Peter Graves.
Although no one has ever been able to prove their existence.
The production designer picks the picture frames that are around all the pictures in the movie.
Finally, some hard evidence.
They're in charge of the look of the movie, all the things you see except actors.
Who would stack pizza boxes like this?
That includes the sets, props, locations, vehicles. A lot of stuff, come to think of it.
Here is one of their stories that never happened from one of their files that doesn't exist.
I've been very lucky in that I've been able to work with great department heads. In the case of Bo Welsh, I had tremendously admired his work as a production designer.
We have a great collaboration. Our ideas enhance one another, and ideas grow out of a dialogue.
And I remember calling Bo up when I had the first movie and asking Bo to do it and warning him that, you know, I don't think there was going to be much for him to do. And Bo had read the script and he said, you know, Barry, I think I'll find a thing or two to be able to keep me busy.
I'll be in the gym if you need me.
You read it and start thinking, what should this look like? What should this look like? How can I express this idea best? You know, you immerse yourself in the material, you get to know the characters, and while you're visualizing the movie, you're looking for visual cues, little secrets built into the theme that inform the design.
Wow. Don't you ever go home? Nope.
If this really does exist, and we know there are a lot of aliens out there, it's funnier if it would be a huge corporation.
I need the perimeter secured and a cleanup crew at 81st and Central Park West.
What I thought the movie should look like was an old TWA terminal at JFK, which was designed by a Finnish architect named Saarinen.
Saarinen would have designed it, or a Saarinen-type person, and then they would have erased his memory and then built it, hired a contractor, built that, erased his memory, and so then you're left with this great piece of architecture that no one knows about.
Good work in the subway. I remember Jeff when he was yay high.
Well, Zed's office, the idea is that he controls the headquarters, so you want to put him in a central position where he can view all of the things that are happening in the headquarters. One of the things I like to do in movies that you can't do always in the real world is build things that defy physical forces such as gravity. So I wanted his office, when it's full of people, to look like it should, you know, wobble. So they had to tear out the stage floor and they poured like 8 cubic yards of concrete and steel in order to support that office, which is basically a large golf tee, if you look at it. So that was fun.
Welcome to planet Earth. In your case, there are some rules and regulations.
Bo thinks like a filmmaker. All of his designs are not only beautiful and specific and stylized, but they are used to help tell the story.
I always thought of the Men in Black headquarters as a terminal for aliens traveling around the universe. They come, they get their passports stamped. They need duty-free liquor as much as we do. They need their cigarettes and watches and perfume. It makes sense. It makes complete sense to me. Why wouldn't they be in their terminal?
Check this Pryonasian's visa. The cephalopods have been making counterfeits down at Kinko's on Canal.
You gotta ask, well, who's operating these stores?
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Are they an alien, or are they humans with the special knowledge that they work in the Men in Black headquarters that we're not supposed to know about?
Listen to yourself. Who talks like that?
I've just figured it out. Burger King has aliens working in it.
Start by finding a deneuralizer they're gonna want to get his memory back. Check.
I knew we were going to see a homemade deneuralizer, and we were going to see the Men in Black deneuralizer. So I wanted to kind of design the two things at the same time. So if you look at them side by side, one of them is real rickety and Rube Goldbergian, and the other one is very sleek and surgical looking. But they're two different sort of designs for the same concept.
Breach! We're being firewalled and flushed. Flushed? Yep. Ever been to a water park?
I don't know.
Okay, let's start moving in the circle.
It's one of those things where Barry and I go back and forth, and then it gets more and more elaborate and more literal, and then literally it became a toilet bowl.
Yeah! What's going on, man?
Hey, what's happening, fellas? MIB is code 101.
101? Oh, man, that's bad.
We wanted the worms back in the sequel.
Once you go worm, that's what you'll yearn.
We find the worms initially at their cool 60s bachelor pad apartment. So Bo gave them shag carpet, amazing looking bar, a fire pit. Bo was very proud of the set, and I said, you know, I think we gotta lower the ceiling like 2 feet. Bo loved the idea, but was afraid that Greg Gardner, the cinematographer, wouldn't be able to light it. But Greg, again, thinks like a filmmaker and not like a cinematographer, and he said, it's gonna be really hard, but it's gonna be worth it. Ready, and action!
Jay!
It's one of my favorite sets, it's one of my favorite scenes. The chairwoman of Sony Pictures came to see the set and asked us to rebuild the set for her kid in their home. Of course we couldn't, because the chairs were not OSHA approved. They could only support the weight of alien worms and not even of a 2-year-old kid.
That's what they say.
But it's a great set, and I love what Bo did with it.
Don't worry about a thing, folks. I used to live here, came by to pick up a few things.
We pretty much set a style for the weapons in Men in Black 1.
Series 4, de-atomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
Men in Black 2, I knew that we would require an escalating scale of weapons, where you start with small weapons and they get gradually bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so that at the end you use your largest weapon. We basically took all the weapons from the first one and looked at how can we make this weapon better. If we had one barrel, we added another barrel. We just redesigned them all so it had the bones, it had the DNA of the original weapons, but were taken to the next level.
Hello.
I wanted something that looked fast and uncluttered, but also had kind of an insect feel. Just draw a lot of pictures and pick one. And that's what came up with.
Up in what?
Everybody has the same everything in Men in Black headwear, the same suits, same glasses, same everything, except Will Smith, who's, you know, a little bit of a renegade.
Old and busted, new hotness.
You know that after 5 years in the Men in Black, he would insist on a better car.
Whoa, nice sled. Very swank. Heated seats? Sometimes I get hives.
I try to give my designs a sense of wit. I look for irony and juxtaposing ideas, the same way people write jokes. You know, you can have a huge alien colony living on the head of a pin.
All is lost! All is lost!
Don't touch that!
The thought is similar for a comedy or a drama. It really makes no difference to me.
Damn!
What's funny is really deep commitment to an idea.
You are a former agent of a top-secret organization that monitors extraterrestrials on Earth.
There is a free mental health clinic at the corner of Lilac and East Valley.
It's an amazing process.
And so, never knowing what happened, the people of Earth were once again saved by a secret society of protectors known as the Men in Black.
Well, I was one of those first generations of kids to grow up in front of a TV set. And the things that really attracted me were science fiction and fantasy and horror films. And I was fascinated by the monsters and the aliens. And I just thought, wouldn't that be a cool job to have, you know? So when I was about 10 years old, I decided that I wanted to be the guy who made the monsters for the movies. Designing aliens for Men in Black, you do a different thing than you would if you were designing aliens for Alien, for example. On the first film, I kind of kept saying to Barry, is this a comedy? Is it what? You know, and we were all kind of trying to figure out what Men in Black really was going to be. You know, it's so much easier on the second film because now we have that blueprint of the first film.
Hey, get some booties on them things. You're crapping up the floor.
We didn't want to do cartoon aliens, but they had to be funny, you know, and they had to have some humor to it, and it took a little while to figure out what that is. So it was just a tricky balance of trying to balance that kind of fun feeling and a reality to it and make it look like something that really could exist but isn't really frightening. First of all, we get a script, which at least gets you starting to think about. You kind of know that you need these certain characters in certain places. I usually do most of my designs now on a computer. I still do like pretty much 2D artwork. It's been about 13 years now I've been drawing on the computer and really found it a really good way to design, especially for a film when you've got not a lot of time. You can do paintings on the computer that look like a painting that would take a week to do, but you could do it in half of a day. And then you can also change colors and things, and you can cut and paste. And the biggest problem I have with the computer stuff is all of a sudden, instead of having 2 or 3 choices, you have 20 or 30 choices, and some of them are subtly different. You know, it's like, sometimes I even have to look at them really hard myself. Why is this one a different one? You know. But I start with that, and I also have a team of people that I work with that are designers that some still use pencil and paper, and some do maquettes. And then what we'll do is get Barry in a room with all the artwork up and say, okay, now the Gerithians or whatever, you know, which one of these do you think looks most like the Gerithian, you know? And then he would pick that, and once he did that, then we would decide on the approach to take.
All is lost! All is lost!
What was fun about this Man in Black and the first one is that it's all the stuff that I've kind of been doing in my career, I kind of all mixed up in one movie. You know, we have animatronic things, we have puppets, we have, you know, simple makeups, we have complex makeups, and, you know, fake heads and the whole deal. Usually when I design something, I think of it as a makeup or as an animatronic thing to begin with. Sometimes I just start going and see what happens, and then I try to figure out how we're going to make it later. But for example, if it's a makeup, we need an actor. The actor comes in, we take a life cast of the actor, which is like a plaster, we make a plaster of their head. And on that, sculpted in a plasticine clay, we sculpt the new features, and through a process of molding and casting and stuff, we get what we call an appliance, which is a foam rubber piece that's then glued to their face. It's a use once and throw away thing. So every day they work, we need a new set of appliances. It's amazing what actors can bring to something. A number of the people who play aliens are people that I'd worked with before that I knew could wear the makeup and deal with it and actually could bring something to it as well. There's 2 aliens that are these bird people. There's a male and female bird. And this is something that I actually designed something like 30 years ago. I did some drawings, at least something similar. And I thought it'd be cool to do this bird kind of person. And I worked with 2 actors on The Grinch who had really nice, long, thin necks, and I thought they'd be great for that bird makeup if I ever do it. You know, I started out thinking I was going to be just a makeup artist when I was a kid, but didn't like the limitations of that. And then I got into more of the animatronics and puppets and fake heads and stuff because you're not bound by, you know, having the 2 eyes here. You know, some of the aliens in this film were, you know, we'd do a maquette and then we would make an armature, and it's a complete sculpture. There's no actor involved. What's great about that is we're not inhibited by the human form inside. We can give it as many arms or as many legs or whatever as we want and stretch things out. For example, there's one alien we called Flapjack that has this kind of long, weird neck and big, weird stalks that kind of come out of his head, and he was completely animatronic. Big sculpture, again, make molds, make foam rubber skins, but then the whole inside of it is a big machine. We have a big machine shop, and we had a lot of mechanical people on Men in Black that were making mechanisms for this. We had one guy that was called Shark Man, who had like a shark-like head. It was still a guy in a suit, basically, with glove hands on that we made, and an animatronic mask that was full of servo motors that worked.
Welcome to planet Earth. In your case, there are some rules and regulations.
When I did the first Star Wars and did a lot of the aliens in the cantina scene, we hadn't seen a lot of stuff like that, where there's a whole bunch of aliens in one little deal. But ever since then, there's so many Star Trek TV series and movies that, and you know, Babylon 5s and all these things where they have people in makeups, and I said, it's going to be hard to do something that hasn't been done 1,000 times already. You know, at one point in my career that was much easier, but so many things, and I have people that I've taught who have taught people, and they all kind of are doing things the way I would have done it, you know, and I've seen makeups that look like I designed it that somebody else did that I once trained, you know. So it's going to be hard, you know, and I think we actually have some of this that are kind of unique looking.
You don't look too good.
And you look like crap. I take that back. He looked like crap.
In the old days, I would do everything myself, basically, because there wasn't anybody else that was as good as I was. I did my first, God, I don't know how many films. Living in my parents' house, and my bedroom was my makeup lab. Earlier in my career, when the job started getting bigger, I had more of a crew, and I just knew that the job was too big. I couldn't do it myself, so I had to give it up to somebody. It was a hard adjustment to get used to having other people doing the work for you. Now, I just love the fact that I can hire people that are better than I am at things to make my work even better. We had quite a few people here because of the time frame. I think it was close to 100 people during pre-production at one point. And I've got a whole assortment of incredibly talented and really nice people. You know, a lot of great sculptors and great mold makers. I mean, you need so many different people that do this kind of stuff. You know, and every step is very, very important. Foam rubber technicians. Roland Blancafleur, who's my foam guy, is amazing. He makes the rubber like nobody else. Mechanical guys that do the mechanisms. We have people that do costume parts, and people like, one of the kind of thankless jobs are like the seam cleaners. The pieces, when they come out of a mold, have a seam on them, and the seam destroys the reality when you see an alien with a big seam running down it. So there are people who basically spend their day in the dark. We have a dark part of the shop that we keep dark, and they just have like one light source so you can see the seam better, and they cut it off and fill it in, and it takes days to do this. I kind of really try to find people that are not only really good at what they do, but really have a love for what they do. Many times people ask me, what's the new material that made the big advancements? I know, like when American Werewolf came out, people said, why is this so much better? There must be some new materials and stuff. And I said, not really. The reason is that we were given more time and more money. I mean, money is the real material there. I started out a little bunch of independent films that were shot in 10 days, and I would get a few $100s and a week or two if I was lucky. You know, you can only do so much. But films like The Exorcist, like Star Wars, and these kind of films, when they started becoming blockbusters, and they started finding out that if they gave somebody like me a little more time and a little more money, everybody's life would be easier and it would work better and the stuff was cooler. Frankenstein was the film that, more than anything, is the one that I credit for making me want to do this, to make monsters and makeups. That whole concept of creating life, it's kind of very much what we do. I mean, not that we really create real life and we don't sew cadavers together, but what I love about what I do is you'll have something that's just an idea in your head, and sometimes it's not a real clear idea. And you know that in a matter of months, that you're going to see that idea in front of you looking alive, looking alive on film anyways, and it really is like creating his life. It's such a cool thing, to know that what you're doing, is going to look like a living, breathing creature.
Welcome to Foley World.
I'm Steve Vischer. I'm the supervising Foley editor on Men in Black 2.
Marco Costanzo, Foley artist.
Jay Peck, another Foley artist.
George Lara, I'm a Foley mixer at C5.
My name's Dave Warszynski, and I just...
Foley boy.
I'm the Foley boy.
Especially on a job this demanding, with Men in Black 2, we split up the tasks.
We usually like to see what's there, so what we can add to.
There is nothing. They want all new, original stuff, and yeah, man, it's the place to do it.
Right then, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That first one, it's got to be a slower drone because you know what? It's not getting up to speed yet. It's just sort of the whole thing's just ready to fall apart.
All right, let's go.
You guys have protection? I love this site, everyone.
Yeah, I really like that performance. I like that start. One of the interesting things about the process is the vocabulary that we have to develop. You know, we're talking about, can I have a little more upslide on the squeak there, which can only, you can't write that in your notes.
They want sort of like gray matter flying all over the place, but it's green matter. So we're gonna come up with a couple different contraptions here. And it's important with this sound that it's not just a plop, it's a multiple hitting plop. Nice and wet.
I'm not close. Good. Beautiful, beautiful. Yep. And we got good splat. Oh, I think.
Jay, how are you, boo-boo? Look, these guys really need you.
He's a neutral.
Tell me something we don't know. Yeah, tell me something we don't. I am so sorry.
God bless you.
Thank you. Look, if I don't bring Kay back to MIB, Serlena's gonna kick my ass. Now, where is he?
Where's who?
You don't look too good.
The Kitsum, the lizard man, I wouldn't mind a little balloon squeak, rubbery thing as the face comes off and then the mask lands.
This is the tech unit. The most advanced technologies from all over the universe are in this room.
We've got an acre of prop area that you could just go around and just collect anything you want.
So there's a few different styles of shoes here. Very nice galoshes. Women's shoes. Kind of hard to find the right size. These glass jars that some people may call trash. We value. Variety of jewelry, different styles, different weights. You never know when you need a switchblade. Variety of bats, glass bottles we're always needing for, you know, sips and pours and squeaks and cork pops. We used some tape for the sound of Selena growing. Hands in boxes, toys, medical items.
Anything you can think of. We can now just get, collect, and pop in here.
And action!
They've gone through the trouble of setting up these elaborate sets. No sounds were there, so it's like, oh, okay, we need pops and boings and springs and rattles. And
You know, just everyday things that we have to do that are not a real thrill, but it's part of our gig.
We are going to start out with Will Smith, who's the main character. And so I'm looking for his shoe, which we've already decided on, which is going to be a leather heart sole shoe.
This guy was talking about being in character for a footstep. I was new as a Foley editor at the time, and I was just sitting in the background going, yeah, right. But then this guy would do this performance, and it was part of the character.
telling the story with sound. I get into any character I look at. I just become that character. You have to. Or, you know, if you're walking it, or if you're just using his hands, or if you're scratching your face, everything is about that character for that moment. And then you go to the next character and do the same thing, but with a little bit different feeling.
Whether it's a question of weight or how that guy feels in the particular shot, there definitely is a character, even on something like a footstep.
Jay, wait up!
It's much harder than it looks.
The real thrill is doing some of these really big sounds, and Men in Black 2 is great for that.
30 seconds to launch. 5.
Hell are you doing here, worm boy?
T. Jeff, excuse my partner. He's new and kinda stupid.
When it's all done and edited, it's just like, oh, wow, we did that? Yeah, that was so good. Yeah, right. I've always found that the greatest compliment is said when, oh, you did Foley in that? Meaning production sound was so good they didn't need Foley. And we all know you need Foley.
He took your gun. Yeah? Cracked you on the head.
And?
Slammed you across the room. Half the time you were on your back.
That's how I fight.
I was very lucky on both Men in Black 1 and Men in Black 2 to have Danny Elfman do the score. Danny is really talented. His sound, his music is very specific and unique. You hear a score, you immediately know that it was written by Danny Elfman.
I was a major film fan as a child, teenager, young adult, and I loved film music. Without knowing it, I'd kind of become a film music fan really early on. Bernard Herrmann was my god. He still is my inspiration. He not only was, in my own opinion, the greatest film composer of the 20th century, but the most versatile. And I modeled myself, or attempted to, in his shadow, because I'll never be a fraction of what he was as a composer. But he was always my model in terms of wanting to do every genre and do it well. I never know what I'm drawing from on any movie ever. I look at the images, I hear music, and it starts from there. And I start finding bits, and I take those bits and I elaborate on them, and I go through this kind of very difficult process where I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, coming up with the tone, capturing the tone, finding the themes, finding the correct mood, and then coming up with actual thematic pieces, and then going through a process where I take the thematic pieces and turn them inside out and upside down and see how they'll play, and I put them through all kinds of acid tests and see how they'll survive. And then I'll take 2 or 3 major scenes in a film and I'll score them just to see if the ideas I have will work in maybe 2 or 3 major areas. Men in Black 2 is a mixture of my own stuff that I'm laying down all the time. Bass, drums, lots of little percussion sounds and variations on that, and a traditional orchestra with brass, woodwinds, and strings. The orchestra is just hearing a click. So I've maybe got 48 tracks already recorded inside of things that I'm listening to, everything put together. So I'm hearing how my percussion and my bass and drums and guitars and things are working against there. They're only hearing a click. I'm imagining it all together as it should be in the booth as it goes down.
The tubans and trumpet, more of the melody, less of the punches. Punches are in the trombones.
Steve and I go back 25 years easy. Right now they feel like mezzo piano to me.
Well, they're 14, marked 14.
Okay, but they're not.
Just because everybody else is playing, it sounds that way. I tell them a little louder, then I'll tell them a little louder.
I really pushed to expand my boundaries. Every film I wanted to learn something new. And Steve then, as an orchestrator, would learn and make mistakes and grow as well.
Flute, bar 56, I want that 56 flute solo. Make it nice and warm.
Steve knew how to do what an orchestrator should do, which is just really lay out what I've written. What I write is generally very dense, and sometimes too much to even for an orchestra play. I depend on him both occasionally to tell me, you've gone too far. You've got to either give up this or this. But yet, it has to work as an orchestral piece, and there's a lot of fine-tuning and laying out of all the pieces. He'll do it in a way that won't change the tone or the feel of what I've written. It's really complicated to describe the relationship of an orchestrator and composer because nobody really understands what that is. I mean, sometimes when you say, I use an orchestrator, they think, oh, you write the melody and then the orchestrator does the arrangement. You go, oh my God, no. People thought that about me for over 10 years. An arrangement is part of what the composer does. Orchestration is another thing, but it's a real weird gray area that even people who work in music don't really understand most of the time. When we're there on stage and the music's going down, he's really my right hand, and then there's going to be a dozen problems as soon as it stops, and we have to solve them really quickly. So he's going to help me on the spot, and it's really high pressure and crazy. So very often we're fixing things really, really quickly.
We should have timp and trombones. We need to punch that even a little stronger. Anybody else? Is there a sus or tam? Is anybody else? Who's on 65?
Very few big orchestral cues go down perfectly or easily the first time for me.
Are we a bar off? What's that? 131. Okay. I don't get it. Yeah, maybe it's wrong. 2 bars off. Ready?
Pete Anthony is the conductor's name, and he is very cool, calm, and collected. And that is what makes a good conductor. Pete Anthony is in the middle of a hurricane all the time, and Pete has to be the calm center of that hurricane.
You know what I think we should do? Let's get the whole orchestra going here. You'll hear it in context. We'll have a chance. We'll have some downtime to work on it. Okay. All right. To the top, please. Everybody, 8-3.
His job is to get the orchestra moving all the time, keep them moving, and answer questions as quickly as possible. He's answering questions from the orchestra, answering note questions, passing on our notes that he's hearing in the headphones, and just holding it all together. Men in Black 2 certainly was more fun than most because there was something that I already knew, but then got to elaborate on and do riffs on. So doing Men in Black 2 is like taking a theme, taking a song I'd written, if I were a jazz musician, which I'm not, and then doing variations and riffing on it, and like doing like an evening of taking this one melody and turning it, having fun with it.
Headquarters has been breached, man. We need to bust in there and peel some caps and split some wigs up in that joint.
In Men in Black, it's definitely a riff, it's a groove. There's a bass drum groove, and that's their thing, that's their groove. The strings are playing along, but there's always a bass line. And the bass line and this boom, 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 and the strings dum, 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 dum. So that's their kind of groove. So now there's a million variations of what I'm going to do in and around that. Then, of course, there's a lot of action, scoring action. This scoring action, it's a whole different animal.
Down to 1 now, John.
You know, very often I think, oh my God, I really am doing like Carl Stalling for 100 pieces. Carl Stalling was the composer who wrote the scores for all the Warner Brothers cartoons. And he was the great cartoon composer. He had the most amazing sense of timing, catching every movement and every nuance. And when I'm scoring action, I kind of score it in that way. I catch everything. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. And it's 10 times more aggravating and time-consuming than more contemporary ways of scoring where you can just kind of play right over it with a groove. But that's just the way I do it.
A note for the piccolo. Even though there's only, can you hear me? Even though it's only 1 beat, it's still a bit of a crescendo. If it's possible, you know, you almost don't hear the beginning of it, and you hear the end of it is the effect that I'm looking for in that little quick gliss. If you can fake that.
Okay.
Is that possible, or am I dreaming? Well, I know the piccolo can't do it in its upper octave, but it should be able to do that there, where she's playing.
Sure.
Won't.
Men in Black 2 was a real joy because I think Danny, over the last 5 years, has even more discovered how to score for comedy.
All is lost! All is lost! Don't touch that!
On the first one, we used to talk a lot about Danny not helping me with the comedy. In the same way, I don't want the actors to help me with the comedy. I don't want them to let the audience know they're in a comedy. I don't want Elfman to help me either.
Instead of it sort of being bum, 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 it's sort of like joyful, like, hey, here I, you know, like, bum, 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 bum.
Sounds really simple. But when you're telling it to 90 people, it's not simple.
You want me to do it?
We would like talk about where to leave holes, like how to catch the joke, because he doesn't like me to catch jokes. He'd prefer to leave a hole, which I like too. So it's like doing something and leave like a little hole for a joke and then picking it up again.
Help! Heart attack! Leah!
I know what to do. The question is, do we want to pay any attention at all then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Even though that, yeah, I see your point. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of contradicting what I said, but in a good way.
So for Barry, when it comes to humor, it's the absence that makes the gag.
Perfect.
I don't ever want to try to follow the music. I want to watch the movie and see how it's working. So my eyes are glued to the movie. I can't take it off. And I'll be making notes on the score of problem areas as it goes by. But I'm still like, I can't stop watching. So it's all about how it's working against the image.
Larry just made a decision.
Yeah, Larry need to take his ass in there.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when I nail it in the beginning, when I know that I've nailed it, and when it's over and it's done. Everything in between is the hardest work I've ever encountered in my life. It takes so much endurance. I've announced my retirement at least a dozen times already, and do so, and will continue to do so every other year or every 3 years because of that.
I have only directed comedies so far, and I have a very specific theory about comedies.
In fact, there are 4 rules of Barry Sonnenfeld comedy. That is, shoot it low and wide, and the actors need to talk fast and flat.
That's the plan.
Don't try to be funny, and do it faster.
Yes.
The concept and the flavor of the comedy is very, very distinctly Sonnenfeld.
The thing that I keep remembering hearing Sonnenfeld yelling in my ear all the time, it's the tone of the movie has to be right. It's a comedic tone, but it can't be done for laughs. If an actor ever looks like he's, trying to be funny, that's wrong. That's, one of the lists in the Barry canon of comedy. It's like, don't try and be funny. It's funny, but it's not obvious funny. And those characters are Barry Sonnenfeld. That's the way he talks.
Oh, I am funny.
It's flat, and it is dry, and it is ironic.
The perfect example of that is Tommy Lee Jones's performance in the series.
Crelons are the Backstreet Boys of the universe. What do they do, throw snowballs at you?
Tommy is incredibly funny. He's funny like George Burns is funny working with Gracie Allen.
I like to keep my enemies confused.
We all confused, Kay.
You need a funny guy, Will Smith, and an equally funny guy, but someone who's not letting you know he's funny.
Did you ever see the movie Casablanca? The same thing, except no Nazis.
The entire time Tommy was doing the first movie, Tommy didn't know he was funny.
So these are real flying saucers, and the World's Fair was just a cover-up for that landing.
Why else would we hold it in Queens?
He thought I was trying to flatten out his performance specifically because I wanted Will to be the only funny guy in the movie. Tommy saw Men in Black when it came out and realized how funny he was, but literally for 18 weeks, he did not know he was funny.
We at the FBI do not have a sense of humor we're aware of. May we come in? I don't have a sense of humor of any recognizable kind.
Old and busted, new hotness.
The key to being funny, for me, is to stand as close to Will as possible and do everything that Barry tells me. And then a lot of people wind up thinking I'm funny.
My theory is the reaction shot, the Tommy Lee Jones moment always gets a bigger laugh than the setup.
Kevin, that's funny. You don't have like a Kevin.
All the driving scenes with Tommy and Will, I think those are Sonnenfeld scenes.
I understand that you're a little scared. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm a little scared too.
I'm not scared.
Me neither.
It's the back and forth, and it is that fast, flat delivery from both of them.
And then there's just a kind of a natural rapport, comic chemistry between Will and Tommy, which you couldn't plan for, you couldn't replicate, it just existed.
Tommy and I adapt Barry's sensibilities in playing these characters.
Yeah, man, back when you was an agent, you used to love getting flushed. Yeah, every Saturday night, you'd be like, flush me, Jay, flush me. I'd be like, no.
I like my movies to work so that the audience decides what's funny, and I don't tell them what's funny.
Oh, damn, man, okay?
So, for instance, in the first Men in Black, there's a scene where Tommy Lee Jones is interviewing an alien in the foreground of the shot, and you're actually gaining information there, but no one hears the information because in the background, you see Will Smith getting flung around by a pregnant squid lady. I never cut into the close-up. Will plays out totally in the background so that the audience can discover how smart and funny they are to see that event.
It's create absurdist situations that are grounded in the issues of the story, and then just let them play.
And let the characters be completely oblivious to the extraordinary.
What you talking about, girl? I'm winning. You're under arrest for violating MIB code 163.
What's really fresh about directing the sequel to Men in Black is that this time they're paying me a lot of money. You know, the challenge is to, find it exciting again, convince the actors that it's exciting again.
It's not simply an enjoyable experience, it's hilarious.
Gray, with tentacles that were coming out of her hands, and she used them to
The
rip
skin off of his body. Actually, it's not skin, it's a protoplasma polymer similar to the
ADR stands for automatic dialogue recording. It's also known as looping. And there are two reasons you loop. You either loop because on the day of the shoot you were using fans, or there was too much traffic in New York, or the shot was too wide and the sound guy couldn't get the microphone closer, so you want to replace the actor's sound with cleaner, better sound.
May I have your attention, please? Jeff, excuse my partner, he's new, and he's new. He's new.
Will is very funny. It's always great working with him in looping because he'll look at a scene and I'll say, look, can you come up with something better?
Yeah, man, back when you was an agent, you used to love getting flushed. Yeah, every Saturday night, you'd be like, flush me, Jay, flush me. I'd be like, nah.
Uncannily good.
Nothing fancy, no heroics, by the book this time.
Will's like a genius of looping.
Idiot savant.
Of looping.
Without the savant part, yeah.
Actors hate to loop.
This is a really, really dumb job.
Although Will doesn't mind it because we order a lot of Chinese food and he's fine. It's both thrilling and boring.
You doing pelvic thrust? Get a little more thrust out of that thing, buddy.
I don't think they want me to. And he hurts me and hits me.
What you doing?
What about those pants?
Are they velour? Are you trying to get dropped on the first reel? I know, that's why I touched your shoulder. You
didn't cut it a kidney. Okay, next.
What'd you do today, Daddy?
Sometimes you get to make the movie better because sometimes you can add a line of dialogue over their shoulder.
Oh no, a 600-foot worm! Save us, Mr. Black Man!
To change the plot or to have a joke.
You're not alone in the universe. Remove the arm. Okay. One of us is going to remove that arm. Good choice. Never touch me.
You know, this might be one of those ones to come back to tomorrow.
You never know.
Yeah. Okay, here's
And then the week after.
I know, right? And then, Will, can you record something in your studio and send it to me?
Yeah. Sound a little less black.
Yeah, right. How come you never give Tommy that note?
I'm afraid of Tommy. Reason for visit?
Education. I really want to learn how to be an underwear model.
Laura Flynn Boyle was typical Laura.
Can I just do it?
Very ironic, sarcastic.
So kind of sort of food in my throat, right?
Yeah. That's the idea.
I just did a little more looping with her last night.
Okay. Oh, sorry, but... So you know it's to distract me so I don't pay attention to what I'm doing? He thought that would work. Because I'm ditzy. Okay.
I've been lucky on this movie with looping.
The light of Zartha's here. Ben's Pizzeria. Fiesta. Here we go, one more. The light of Zartha's here. Ben's Pizzeria.
Let's take out Ben's Pizzeria.
Take it out?
Yeah, so it's the light of Zartha's here.
Take 9.
The light of Zartha's here.
I think that's good.
How did
Get
you?
that back.
I was told that you wanted to replace the line 2 slices of pepperoni and any information about you might have about the light of Zartha with something like, I'm going to count to 6. Notice one has 4 words and one has 18, but...
Juno Ellis has done like every movie with me looping and or ADR, and she's very good. She's very patient.
Moving on.
Okay, so
To
that
the
is
last
the
possible second.
end of this reel
In about
one.
4 weeks, we'll give you a call.
And now we're going to
You'll
put
be in
up
the Mediterranean.
the reel 3.
Just a sense of comfort working with Juno because we've done it so many times, and she knows that I'm going to change things at the last second, and she's really patient with me.
And
I got
as
gas.
alts.
And the other 2
I got gas
cues
paint.
here
I don't
are
have gas at
omits.
all. I got gas paint.
And now we have to put up
I have gas paint.
the newest reel 3.
I will not be ignored, Juno.
I'm very sorry to hear that you have gas paint.
Okay, thank you.
This is not good. This is not good. One day on the job and I'm running up a dead trichoritis loss. Oh, God.
Frank Pug is played by Tim Blaney. He's really smart and funny, and he doesn't shave enough, so there's always a little bit of stubble. He sort of looks like Frank a little bit. We write a lot of stuff for Frank, and then he throws out his own ideas.
Trapped like rats in a chia pet.
It's totally collaborative. The process of putting and working on a film, puppeteering, doing voiceover, it's just more fun than you can think of. It's like a dream come true.
What do we got?
There's a phosphorus residue on the wall and floor. We've sent samples back to M for analysis.
Hey, Jay, 0% body fat.
Good, so let's make that to select that other one, the alt.
You tell the girl you love her?
I'm supposed to take advice on love from a dude that chases his own ass?
Hey, easy, pal. That's canine profiling, and I resent it. Well, I think he would like to be the major figure. I think he's looking for Pug in Black to be his next feature.
Lose the suit.
Sure thing, partner. No problemo. Just going for the look. But if I say so myself, I do find the overall effect very slimming. Whoa! Who are you, and how'd you get in here? You like egg salad?
I had just worked with Johnny Knoxville on Big Trouble, and I loved working with him.
He lost a bet with Lawrence Kasdan, and that's how I got in both these films.
You know, Johnny was actually very good in looping, but he was very shy when the cameras came around.
I had to close my eyes so I don't see these bastards.
I thought he was a really great actor. Not a personality, just a great actor.
Please, shut up, Charlie.
I'm tired of you constantly talking behind my back.
Yeah, you'll figure out how to do this. Take your time. You know, the first couple hundred. I'm sorry, I just had to.
Just a real confidence builder, Mr. Sonnenfeld.
Yeah, that's me.
Please, shut up, Charlie.
I like that. Shut up. Want to try one more and then we move on? One more version?
Please, shut up, Charlie. I'm tired of you constantly talking behind my back.
But that's pretty good. You like that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, like that.
Like you're gonna pick up a girl off the line. Wanna come back to my place for some tonsil hockey and egg salad? What an ass. Good.
Anytime, John.
Here we go, we have
How about now?
Do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's wild, Johnny. Do it.
I'm sorry, I haven't had a drink
now
today.
do it.
Okay. Okay. And
Yes, we're rolling.
I gotta stop.
Okay, let's stop.
Jay, wait up. Oh, appreciate the shot, man. Thought I'd never get out of that mailroom.
Lose the suit.
Sure thing, partner. No problemo. Just going for the look.
Frank the Pug had a very small role in the first movie.
You don't like it? You can kiss my furry little butt.
We rewrote the plot of Men in Black 1 a week before we locked the picture, and basically had Frank the Pug tell the audience what the plot was, because we didn't have one.
The galaxy is the best source for subatomic energy in the universe. If the bugs get their slimy claws on it, kiss the Archelians goodbye.
So I thought I owed Frank a return engagement, because without Frank telling the audience what the plot was, we wouldn't be here today talking.
I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face.
Frank is played by a wonderful dog named Mushu. Mushu was like a one-take genius. He would come in, do his line, or in this case, hit the mark, look up at a mark, perfectly every time. We made more time and got so much more ahead of schedule whenever we were working with Mushu.
I'm Agent F now, Agent J's new partner. Who are you eyeballing?
Frank, school out, dog.
When it came to casting Frank the Pug, first of all, they weren't quite sure how they were going to do it, but I think Rick Baker suggested me as a performer. And they brought me into Rick's shop, took a mold of my face, and made a makeup appliance that was a pug face. And actually then made teeth, gave me a set of pug teeth, because they were thinking they were going to shoot my face and then transfer that onto the dog.
On the first one, we had Industrial Light and Magic animate his mouth. And on the second one, we have both Rhythm and Hughes, who did all the work for Babe, and ILM did some of the work too. So we have two different companies animating Frank the Pug.
Frank's a great character. He's got such a great voice, and just that little face has, so much personality to begin with that it really helps us put in the, finishing touches.
You humans, when are you gonna learn that size doesn't matter?
We watched Frank in the first film. He was a smaller part, and it was a bit more restrained. This time he was a much bigger presence, and he had to play right next to Will Smith and fill the same frame, and you had to be as interested in him as you did in Will.
Whatever, wipe your mouth.
It's a high-tech version of silly putty in the old days, where you used to take something, you put it down on a piece of newspaper, and then you get the picture on there, then you can pull it around and make it move. Well, we're doing the same thing, except we're doing it with the original picture of the dog and inside the computer. And the end result, when it's done right, when you get good body language from the dog in the original shot married to our animation, it's a very convincing thing.
Frank, you were the best arm partner a Romulian could ever have.
The prop guys actually had a fake cigar. It kind of just stood still, so we really wanted to, bounce around, and we actually had our animator walk out in the parking lot with a mirror and a cigar in her mouth and watched how it moved when she talks. And we put in a CG cigar and had it bounce around, and even had puffs of smoke when he was talking and had little drifts, and just really came up with a fun little comical shot. If you're doing a long shot, it's more the gross movements that read, so you tend to animate just a little bit larger, and the mouth moves a little bit faster, so you can make sure you tell that he's talking.
I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face.
For a close-up shot, that's where you really have to get all the little details. You need the tongue to move exactly right. You need all these little tiny nuances in the lips. You have to avoid being too repetitive. If you keep flapping the jaw, it's exactly what it looks like.
Got kids?
No.
Want them?
In natural speech, you kind of vary your mouth shapes. Your jaw may slide side to side, and you come up with little things like that to keep it feeling natural and interesting.
Jay, where are you, partner?
We got flush.
MIB's Code 101.
Yeah, who did it?
Some hot-looking biker chick. Want me to tailor?
Who are you and how'd you get in here? You like egg salad?
In the script, there was a role for a two-headed alien, Charlie and Scrad, and I had just worked with Johnny Knoxville on Big Trouble, and I loved working with him.
Scrad and Charlie are new, and Scrad and Charlie are both one body that have two heads, one that's kind of a long neck that comes out of this backpack. They both basically look like Johnny Knoxville. We did some subtle makeups on Johnny, a lot of paint and highlights and shadows and a little bit of hair to make him a little scruffy looking and make the two heads slightly different. And we made a really cool Johnny Knoxville scaled down head and long neck that's never gonna see frame of film in the finished movie. Barry first said, I want you to make a puppet head of him. And I said, I don't think so. It's gonna be, you know, the same face and a puppet head in the same shot, and it's never gonna look as good as the real face. I said, I think it'd be much better to actually composite his head onto like a CG neck, and it's real actor giving a real performance. So that's what they basically ended up doing.
Don't put anything in our ears. What?
The head's much bigger than we started out with. And it was a problem, again, design-wise. You know, we had this long neck with a head on it, and it was getting kind of very phallic looking, you know. So he wears almost like this Michael Jackson Thriller kind of jacket, and the head has a kind of a similar like sleeve that goes on the neck. It's Johnny, you know, I mean, like I said, the makeup we have on him, we really didn't try to hide him or you know, turn him into something else. It's more like a homeless Johnny Knoxville.
Charlie/Scrad is the most indolent alien you've ever come across.
Third rock from the sun.
I never got that till now.
Well, I figured, you know, with this guy, we could do anything, you know. I mean, if we wanted to put the, you know, the appliances on him with a nail, that would be fine. He's the kind of guy I like, you know, that you can torture and doesn't complain about it.
That's good. I need the work. Wake up, champ!
Hey! Lowbridge, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's happening, fellas? MIB is code 101.
Very bad.
The worms had appeared in the first movie, and I really liked them because it allowed me to be politically incorrect. They were disgruntled workers. They talked about babes. They smoked. They drank. They stole.
They're under suspension right now for stealing from the duty-free shop.
We were framed. That's wormophobic.
The worm guys are a little more sophisticated than they were in the first movie. That was a very kind of a last-minute kind of throwaway kind of gag.
How you doing, fellas?
And they're like, we were one-times puppets. They're the size that they really are in the film, and they were very limited and built for specific things. In this film, they have a lot more dialogue and have to act a lot more.
That's gonna leave a scar.
So we did, besides the one-times puppets, we did 3 times puppets. They're 3 times larger. So the, you know, instead of the head being this big, you know, it's this big. And that enabled us to do a lot more articulation with them and just make them a little more finessed. But the funny thing is, Barry tends to like the one-times ones.
Lara.
For some reason, he likes that, you know. But it's a little simple, like, you know, open and close mouth.
Quit touching my butt. Sorry, I thought it was your face.
In the old days, I would have to have major fights with the studios about the fact that when it's a puppet, it's a performance, and it needs to be a puppeteer who's in SAG.
Once you go worm, that's what you'll yearn. What's that?
They keep saying, no, it's a special effect, and it's a local 44 guy. And I said, you know, a welder is not the same thing as an actor. You know, some of the effects guys, you know, they do some amazing stuff, but they're not performers. So I got some good puppeteers, and they brought so much to it. Barry had so much fun with them, and just the improvised things that they did. A lot of that scene, they improvised the stuff that they were doing.
Just say Twister, nothing after that. Just 1, 2, 3.
Twister!
Cut.
Lock and load, baby.
One of the things that's really difficult for us to do is a good walking character that's like animatronic. So that's where the CG stuff, the switch off usually happens when they have to climb down from something and run away. It's a CG version.
The idea is to, when they use puppets, is to match what's shot on camera. It's actually a good reference for us because we can tie into what looks photographic. Because most of what we do is so artificial and it's so perfect that we spend a lot of time making it imperfect.
Shut down power, shut down power. Buttons, I'm guessing, yeah.
Oh, yummy. Someone I need to eat.
We thought it'd be interesting to have a villain that was a girl this time, because with girls come like bodies and breasts and joy for teenagers. So we thought it would, and kids of all ages actually. When she lands on Earth, the first image she sees is a New York magazine that happens to be opened up to a picture of a Victoria's Secret model. So she becomes a Victoria's Secret model.
She's made out of roots, basically. One of the first designs I did was the beginning transformation from this weird root-like thing into this woman, and kind of tried to conceptualize what that was going to be like.
We looked at a lot of time-lapse photography of plants and fungus that grew at a very rapid rate.
Between a handful of the crazy guys here, they wrote the software called iGrowth, which is basically a way of simulating tree growth from roots. It's procedural by nature in that I'm not having to define any one specific branch to go to a place. I just give it a random set of elements and they behave from there.
Laura never really understood the sort of what she was going to look like when she wasn't being a beautiful Victoria's Secrets model, and I really didn't want her to know what she was going to look like. It was hard enough for her to sort of accept the reality of her ability to go like that with her fingers, and for these sort of wet eel-like things with artichoke snapping heads at the tips to come out.
I'm just trying to find it very reasonable that I am a woman on the hunt for the light of Zartha.
She ends up eating a full-grown man. So we had to do this effect of her stretched out stomach. We took a lot of license there. It wasn't as big as it would be if you had a man inside of you, as well. But she's got a pretty good gut on her with her little bra and panties on. It was kind of a fun thing to do. I did some initial designs on how she should develop and what she's made out of and the whole principles behind her. But some decisions have been made based on just the time frame. Some of the stuff I came up with was just too difficult, even with CG stuff. I mean, I really took the stance that, if we can't make this thing out of rubber, which we couldn't do what I had thought of, we could really use the computer to its real advantage, and I came up with some really difficult stuff for them.
Wait! No!
Alien prisoners released, armed and ready for your orders.
Prisoners of MIB, the scum of the universe. Well, now it's the scum's turn.
We worked with Rick and tried to come up with these 4 thugs who would be different and specific.
Start by finding a deneuralizer they're going to want to get his memory back.
Check.
Now.
There were a number of jokes that were centered around the alien's appearance. So that pointed me in a direction.
You don't look too good. And you look like crap.
So we have this guy that's made out of corn, basically, for no reason. There's the human version of him, which looks like the actor, basically, but we gave him an inhuman kind of chin, kind of a Jay Leno chin. It's like not quite believable, Just so he looked a little odd. And I wanted him to be kind of like, look almost like a little action hero kind of guy. So we gave him this big chin and a flat top. One of the aliens is a dog poop alien.
I take that back. He looked like crap.
I never would have designed a dog poop alien had it not been for a line in the script.
Didn't I teach you anything, kid?
Penny eye!
There was a line that said he pokes him in his pineal eye, and it's just like this kind of third eye thing. So we did again on an actor that I worked with before that I liked, Kevin Greavius. We did a makeup on him to exaggerate his face. He looks very Rondo Hatton-like, for those who know who Rondo Hatton is. It was the creeper in the Sherlock Holmes movies and these different things. We did this kind of Rondo Hatton, though he's black, guy with a third eye on his forehead, which is mostly covered by, he wears a hat so he can pass as a normal human.
Go for the mosh tendrils!
The tendril guy, again, that was from a line in the script.
Go for the mosh tendrils!
In my computer, I have a file that I say faces to mess with, and they're just different actors that I work with. And there was this one guy that I worked with on Wild Wild West who is hairless, and I thought, well, he's a good starting point. So I did this design with these tendrils, and then I said, why not use them? So my Photoshop thing that I did of him looks like a picture of the final makeup. That's one thing I like about doing this stuff on the computer is we can do, photorealistic like things.
There is a alien in the movie who has a facial feature that looked like human masculine testicles. But we had not named this character. And we were shooting the scene with the character.
K, he's a chin ball. K, he's nut-throatian. He's chin-sackian. He's ball-chinian. He's a gonadinac. He's nut-chinian.
Scrochinsian. He's got a scrotee. He's a scrotothroat. He's Cahonian. Pubneckian.
We went on and on and on, and eventually the one that ended up in the movie is Balchinian.
Okay, he's a Balchinian.
Split guy is one of the aliens that work in the post office. Top half crawls off, and inside the pants, basically driving this thing, is this weird-looking, multiple-mouthed, kind of eyes on stalks kind of alien with working little controls. And we cast John Burton, who's the visual effects supervisor, as the top half. I liked his face. I thought he would make a good alien. Guy takes off his head and he's got this big-eyed little hand weird creature. One that we call Joey because he looks a little bit like Joey Ramone. Turns out he's a little kind of pinhead kind of guy. There's this weird mail sorting guy. Robot Squid was this design that has like a little kind of glass space helmet over its head, it's got like, I don't know how many eyes, and his body's covered with this weird kind of quilted spacesuit thing, and then on the bottom are all these tentacles that maneuver him around, and it's completely animatronic guy that you let loose and he would like crawl around on the floor, and all the little eyes worked and stuff, and he's just kind of a fun little animatronic guy. A lot of these guys are kind of throwaway things, they're just kind of like set dressing, they're in Men in Black headquarters, but don't have a real specific purpose other than just to show that they're aliens there.
Yo, did you peep that drop-top thing out front? Oh, yeah. My business is banging, dog.
When we were working on a script for Men in Black 2, I knew I wanted to bring Jeeves back. I loved his character because he's, again, incredibly obnoxious, incredibly New Yorker-like.
Are you allergic to shellfish?
Jeeves!
Right then, smoke him if you got him.
And I loved working with Tony Shalhoub, who's one of the bravest actors in the world. I mean, he has no concerns about looking ugly or stupid or shiny or being obnoxious.
He took the ball and ran with it. He had a lot of fun with it. He's one of those actors that has fun with the makeups.
Your brain needs to reboot. Give it a minute, will you?
It's a real pleasure to see him work. I mean, I really enjoyed him on this film a lot, just to see the stuff that he did. He's such a fine actor, and he has fun.
Just love touching my eyeball.
And we didn't want him to look just like an absolutely normal person. And Barry would say, like in New York, he said, you can walk down the streets and you can tell the aliens. He said, you can walk along, you're human, alien. You can see these people, and he was saying, this, and we kind of went for a walk and he was saying, alien. I go, okay, I get it, So there's just some of these weird looking people, So we made Jeeves a little tweaked, the first movie. He's got a nose, he's got these big ears, wall-eyed contact lenses, and goofy teeth, He was just kind of odd looking, and when he came back, he was a little more odd.
You remember me?
Can't say I do. I'm pretty good with faces. I think I'd remember that.
What Rick and I decided is that probably in the 5 years between the first one and the second one, Will has probably blown Tony's head up 3 or 4 more times. So we decided that we would give Tony's makeup as Jeeves a little bit more distortion. We made his nose a little bigger. We made his one eye look even further off because we feel that every time his head grows back, some sort of the DNA is missing. Every time his head grows back, when we loop him, we have him suck helium. The great thing about helium is it wears off very quickly. So we can start like that and very quickly turn out to talk normally.
Real nice. Okay, that's the last time I elbowed a friend.
Jara, good to see you.
John Alexander, who's this suit performer that I work with a lot, he played Mikey in the first film.
That's enough, Mikey. You hand me that head.
He's superhuman, the stuff that he can do inside of a suit. He's the nicest guy in the world, never complains. So I always try to get him work, because he makes my life easier. He's got a really interesting face, because he rides a unicycle and he does a bunch of stuff. We thought it'd be interesting to put him on a unicycle originally and have him in this big kind of almost bell-shaped coat that just kind of floats around. Originally it was just a background alien, and then at some point the coat gets pulled off and it turns out that he's mostly a big head and he's got this little kind of frail body and he's in a flying saucer. And Barry really liked that idea. So then they gave him a bigger part.
Give me Jay, we'll call it even.
Groovy. You've got till midnight.
It's not just one Jara under there, there's a whole army of like smaller ones.
Over our dead titanium bodies.
2 minutes.
When we started thinking about how we would carry this off, it was pretty obvious that we were going to have to do some computer graphics because these characters are going to fly all over everywhere and they need to be very freed and they need to be able to move through this environment without the restrictions you would have of someone on wires and so on. We started out designing the character as a completely computer-generated character, but we wanted to keep the incredible performance that John Alexander, who plays Jara, was giving us. We wanted to actually map his face onto this character as well. We get the flexibility of the digital effects, but the complexity of the live action.
I want him in pieces.
We need to make sure that we've got a way in which Will can now interact with these creatures. So it's not just two people flying around. Now Will's got to go on wires, and we got to figure out ways to get him to fly in the way that we want him to fly. And what we would do is we would shoot Will Smith running through the scene, jumping up on these boxes and flying in the air on wires. And then we would reshoot that camera pass without anything in the background and paint out all the boxes, all the wires, and all the things that were supporting Will. Will's really great at doing this kind of stuff. He's done some really great physical stuff with us that makes it possible for us to use him, not a stunt double. We brought this big sandbag on a wire flying across the set, and Will leaped up and actually grabbed the sandbag, and then we painted out the sandbag and we put in the flying Jara creature who comes flying in right where the sandbag was, and when Will grabs him, it has all the weight that you need to have, because Will really did grab onto something that had the same momentum and weight as we wanted Jara to have. It all looks perfectly real because Will's reactions are exactly what they should be. And it all works because it's all got the right weight, it's all got the right movement, it's all got the right momentum.
Down to one now, John.
You getting big, Jeff. Boy, what you been eating?
Jeff has a flower, like this beautiful flower that grows out of his head. It's like an anglerfish has this thing that would attract other fish, and then he eats them. So we made the little flower, and it's this little weird, kind of almost orchid-like looking flower. It's got a little beak that works. And we did a little kind of puppet flower that the first thing you see in the streets of New York coming out of a subway grate is this pretty flower sticking out, and the men in black come and start talking to it, and you wonder what the hell's going on.
What's happening, buddy? We were just wondering what you were doing here. Man, talking to you.
When we started, we had a bunch of artwork from a lot of different sources, including our own art department. Actually, what we started with looked completely different from what he looks like now. It was a much more beautiful, kind of like a glowy, sort of like a underwater sea creature looking thing. He's a creature that never sees the sun, so he's got this like self-illumination to get him around the tunnels. He ended up sort of being two separate creatures for us in terms of look and how to work him into the shots in production. Because from the front, his skin quality and the way he's lit and the way he looks is a little bit different from the way you see him from the side. When he's got those orange glows showing in his body, you want to see those prominently lit up so his body's darker and he's more sort of just like specular and wet looking. But from the front, you want to see his face. You want to see all these nice big teeth. You want to see his eyes, you want to see the expression on his face so you can sort of read what's going on with this creature and this character. We did have second unit go out and shoot a ton of footage with cameras at 3 different angles on the back of a subway train. And it was a matter of sort of piecing together backgrounds from all of those aggregate parts in order to get what Barry wanted to see and what the visual effects supervisor wanted to see in the sequence. Will Smith was shot on a blue screen stage. He was sitting on this big blue barrel with a handle in the shape of a flower, which is the flower that's on top of Jeff's head. And so they were bucking that thing around. He's trying to hold on. It sort of gives the impression that he's riding some giant worm.
Sweet!
Kid, I'll get you trained yet.
I want one of those.
Dang.
A little help, Agent J.
Y'all cool? Y'all got him?
Agent J, a little.
Nope. What's up?
Ace.
What?
Hell, son, it's been 2 weeks.
Get over it.
Kay, for real?
Go back to work.
Look, Kay, you're back, man. Congratulations. Everything is straight here. This is cool. I'm out, y'all.
You miss her. It happens to all of us. I knew this hot young thing once. We used to... Boy, I'm telling
Zed! Come on, man. Damn.
Here's your ticket to 2 weeks in paradise, all expenses. Your pod leaves in 1 hour.
you. Godspeed, Jay.
Y'all been holding out on me. Hey, fellas, thanks, man. Hey, good looking out.
Have a good time.